So many times we have been told that we as humans, the current generation possibly, we run away from our own emotions. Like we are not happy fully, we are not sad fully, we don't cry properly. Everything we do half-hearted. The problem actually comes because we don't first accept our emotions, and second, we don't acknowledge them.
There was a point where I had completely given up, right? I was just thinking ki, the way forward is only, more hard work, more grunt work, which is not going to give me outcome until, like, some time. I just still chose to go ahead with it during that phase because I didn't want to give up at that point.
Hey there, what are your thoughts on this? With this one line, our guest for today has made me think and question everything. Today, we have Rohit from Barely Opinionated who talks to us about his creator journey, what decisions he took, and the efforts he took mentally to reach there. Welcome to the Awaaz Podcast, where we talk about everything mental health, startups, and what it really takes to keep going. I hope you love the first episode. Let's listen.
Okay, hi. So, can you hear me properly, Rohit?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I mean, so how are you doing, Rohit?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, good, amazing. So, Rohit, it's possibly our third meet that we are meeting. First, we initially met around December, and then I actually came down to the hub to meet you guys during February as well. And then, we met last time when I had a session, correct?
Correct.
So, I tell you what I've seen is it's quite different with yeah, when you meet people, okay? Which time you try to entangle yourself with the people around there, and the network actually changes to a relationship, okay? So there is this simple theory that if you spend time with someone for more than 20 hours or 50 hours, something around that, you turn from acquaintance to a friend to a best friend or things like that, okay? Well,
Hmm.
what do you say about that?
I mean, it makes sense, but it just depends. It's actually, I would say it's not necessary whether even if you're spending, like, say, 100 or 150 or 200 hours with someone. If you guys are not, if you guys are just sitting together and doing your own thing and not really talking to each other or getting to know each other, I don't think the bonding is there.
So basically, you mean communication is a very important key here,
Exactly.
right? Okay. So with that, why don't you tell us, what has your journey been? Okay, because I've known you from, like, let's say almost more than a year. Okay,
Hmm.
and I have this. There's this one thing from your side that always stayed with me. That's what do you say on this, or what are your thoughts on this? Okay, so that one line has actually stick around with me for like a long time. It's basically like whatever I'm doing, okay, Rohit clicks in my mind saying, "Oh, what are you doing on this?" or what are your thoughts on this? So why don't you tell us like what made you start this whole journey, okay, of becoming a content creator, of becoming like a content or a creatorpreneur, okay, to be
Hmm.
with the buzzwords around, right? So why don't you tell how did it start?
So I started Barely Opinionated in October 2020, and there are two three reasons why I started it. One was because I always wanted to do something on my own. Second was because I found a market gap, which was also my passion, which was about being updated with politics and what's happening in the world. And third was that I was sick of the job that I was doing before, and I really wanted to get out of it and do something impactful. So these three
Okay.
reasons sort of met together and made it happen.
So October 2020 is almost like 3 years back from now. So uh, what was the time period during there? Were you in the last phase of your college, or did you just come out of college? Because see, taking that decision
No, so I
is kind of a difficult situation when you're at home as well. Correct? So
true. So I actually graduated the year before that. I finished my college in May of 2019. And as soon as I finished college, I already had a job in hand from college. but then there was a 3 month gap in between me finishing college and me getting a job. So during those 3 months also, I tried to do something on my own. I started a fresh pressed juice company, right?
Okay.
Like how Raw exists now. Those 3 months I tried to dabble into that because I was into fitness at that time and nutrition and stuff.
Okay.
Um, but then again, I was not really that dedicated to it because I was just like कि हाँ 3 महीने free के हैं कुछ करके देख लेते हैं. But
Ah,
I was like कि I was lethargic. I was procrastinating because I knew I was secure with my job.
correct. You
So
know you had a safe.
so I started working. Exactly. I had a safety net. So I went into the job, and then 5 6 months into that, I started disliking the job because it was paying me really well, but it wasn't giving me the satisfaction I needed in terms of the learnings that I wanted, right? Like I figured that in those 5 6 months, the things that I had learned, I think that would be the cap of my learning, or like that would be the, like there is an exponential graph, right? Like the you have like a very linear
The whole
curve,
thing.
and then suddenly it just stagnates after a point. And that's what I felt was where I was getting to with that job. And that was also around the time where I found an opportunity in an incubation center, which helps startups come from 0 to 1 or 0 to 10, right?
Correct.
And I realized that that is where I need to go because I wanted to do something on my own, and that would be the place for me to learn because I would be working along with startups and helping them with their problems and what they would be doing. But that's the incubation center that I joined. That was in January of 2020, right?
Okay.
So I joined there, and the funny part is that when you look at it from a financial perspective, it was a complete flip because on one side I was making a lot of money, on this side I had dropped the potential of making money to get into learning something new,
Correct.
right?
Starting from like
So
scratch.
at one place, yeah, and it was like almost like one third of what I was making earlier, right? But I still decided to do it because I knew that I wanted to learn how to build startups. I wanted to work with entrepreneurs, and at the same time, that place had also promised me a certain career trajectory. So I took that plunge and I decided to get into that in January of 2020, and then March 2020 lockdown came. Things over there just took a pause for a bit, right? We are all trying to figure out how do we work now, how do we make things happen, right? And it took maybe a month and a half for them to figure out, and then once we started working, it was again a very hectic road, especially for me. So at that point, I had joined at a very low position because they were like, yeah, you need to climb up the ladder or whatever, and I was completely okay with that because I just wanted to learn. So, and even though I was at a very low position, I was doing a lot of, and after that, it felt exhausting. It felt like I wasn't being respected for the tasks that I was doing, and I wasn't being, and the how do you say, the success that I was getting with my KPIs or my performance indicators was very high, right? I could see it with the numbers that I was doing, but then the organization didn't necessarily give me the credit for it. And when the career trajectory that they had promised me, they had pushed it by a lot. And after a point, it was just like a tipping point. After which I was just like, okay, this is not going to go good for me. I don't think these guys deserve what I'm doing for them. I should just leave it, right? And that is when, and it took me, like, after I decided to do that, it took me about 3 4 months to figure out what I want to do next, which is when I sort of started building the concept of Barely Opinionated. And October is when I left that and started
Started.
Barely
Right.
Opinionated. And then as I was doing this, I also figured that okay, I shouldn't just do one thing. I should also do something else, which is when I also did a post graduation certification for my in marketing, right, from one of the best advertising colleges in Asia. So both of them went hand in
Correct.
hand at that point.
Okay, so understanding your journey, it was quite a while that you were trying to jump between things where you were trying to decide what is best for you and trying to also create a
Mm.
balance to have a sustainable, let's take living, and things like to understand or figure out what you were doing as well, right? But in that process,
Exactly.
you mentioned that it took you around 3 to 4 months to figure out, the exact messaging, is exact positioning of where you want to be, correct? So I would want to know, one, what drove you to choose this, okay? Because a lot of people have a feeling that they want to start things of their own, okay? A lot of people have that everyone's doing around, so I'll also do it, peer pressure effects, right? But there is one personal thing always there, that okay, I have to do this, okay? There's always that one thing. So what is that one thing that drove you to choose this, or totally change the direction of your journey?
See, COVID made me realize that one is that our generation doesn't really care about what's happening in the country, what's happening around the world. Our generation, we as 18-year-olds have the right to vote, but then we as 18-year-olds don't even know what's happening in the country. We don't even know our MLAs or MPs. Forget about anything else, right? Um, and that was a big gap that I realized during COVID when everyone had free time. Everyone was seeing what the government was doing or what was happening in the country and what the world was going through. Everyone wanted to put out their opinions about things, right? Ki, oh, this should have been handled this way. This was good. This wasn't done well, right? But most of this information was coming out of incorrect facts, and it was most of it was coming out of it was like Chinese whisper, right? Would talk about something on the internet, someone would read it, someone would interpret it on their own way, they would then make their own interpretation. It became Chinese whisper, right? And that is where I was like, okay, it's time that something needs to be done. That is why I chose Instagram as a primary platform to start Barely Opinionated, because that is where a lot of people were talking, a lot of at least the peer group that I saw,
Mm-hmm.
or my generation or the people that I connect with were talking.
Correct. So the factor I think where I somewhere understand what drove you was that you wanted to see that awareness amongst our generation, which was lacked because of layered media, because everything is like Chinese whisper, right? Like you mentioned. So definitely that's something, because what I have seen, peer pressure or just wanting to start things of their own is just like a above the layer approach of a lot of people. There's something, that one particular thing that drives them. Like for me personally, the whole spiritual part, why it drives me is because somewhere I feel I am made to connect others to let's take their spirituality as well. So basically, I am made to connect others to their spirituality. So that is where I am, focusing on letting people know about what spirituality is, how it works, how do you connect yourself to your own spiritual sense, things like that. So that is what I think is my purpose. Okay, where I feel you had that 3 month period to understand what is your purpose, where you are driven, um, and I think somewhere it has turned out to be real good. How do you see your journey? Because it has been almost 3 years since then, and it took a while to, let's say, boost up. So you came out of the death valley of the, let's take the bottom of the funnel, and then you just reach that top where at least around currently how much do we have, around 155 or 160 k followers, correct? So reaching, starting from zero, and then reaching that must have taken a while, right? So what took that in you, okay, uh, mentally, to take that decision? Because see, we come from, like, let's take family backgrounds where our families also have a say in what we do, correct? So taking that decision, keeping in aspects where uh, friends, family, everyone, and then choosing our career as well. So what took in you in that 3 months to take that decision mentally?
So before I get to that, there are two, 3 points I want to cover, right? One is the peer pressure angle of being an entrepreneur. Honestly, I didn't have any peer pressure because none of my peers were being entrepreneurs at that point, right? I feel like at least in the bubble that I was, like everyone, all of us are in our own bubbles, right? And for us, our truth and our perspective is in that bubble that we live in, right? For example, for say the two of us, because we are so involved in social media, we are so involved in entrepreneurship, in the world of entrepreneurship, we feel like everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, everyone wants to build something on their own, everyone wants to be a creator to some extent, right? But that time when I was starting Barely Opinionated, I feel like I was in a bubble where entrepreneurship wasn't something that was being pursued at a scale that I feel it is right now based on what I see. Because that time people wanted stable jobs, even from even my college peers, right? Like right now, the right now I feel like the people that are going to college are more susceptible to being freelancers, are more open to being entrepreneurs, are more open to working during college. But for me, when I was in college, it wasn't like that. I didn't see a lot of people doing freelancing. I didn't see a lot of people working for money. It was just like, yeah, I'm getting a content writing gig here. I need to write blogs, right? Those were some of the small things that, but no one was actually doing proper internship or making proper
Correct.
money, at least during my
But now
college
it
days,
is.
right? So,
Rohit, both of
yeah,
from almost the same batch, okay, of passing.
right,
So I feel I
right.
connect with you on that because when I was in college, I was doing the same thing, and there was none other person in my whole batch who was trying to do the exact same thing. Well, trying to build a company or
Yeah, and because I didn't know something like this could be done, because I wasn't a very internet guy also. It's not like I was always on the internet. I hardly used LinkedIn at that point. Instagram was maybe one of the things that I used, right? So all of this was very new to me. I didn't know any of it, right? So when I actually started Barely Opinionated, it was like a completely starting from ground up, from the scratch, learning a completely new industry, learning a completely new environment, and then sort of taking it up, right? So that is one thing that at that point I feel peer pressure as wasn't as much as it is right now. At
correct.
least that's what I feel, right? Second is why I was able to do this was because of my family support. Otherwise, it's not possible at all, right? Without someone supporting you, because my like when I decided to leave my previous job, my dad was just like, he vibed like, first figure out what you like. At least if you want to do something on your own, first start it, right? And then have lay a foundation and then leave the job. But then one day I was just so fed up. I just sent in I just sent in my
Designation.
resignation, right? And then I told my father that I've sent in my resignation. I was, that day was very difficult. It wasn't a pleasant day for me or my father. But still they supported me because they were like, okay, you're young, you have time, do it, right? And there was a financial pressure on me. There was a pressure of me having to take care of my family, which is the biggest privilege that I would say I had, and a lot of us have, who are actually able to go deep into the entrepreneurial journey. Otherwise, most people, like most entrepreneurs that are not able to continue doing what they do, or most entrepreneurs fail, not because they give up early, or they can't figure out what they want to do, but it's just because they don't have enough time to figure out, because they have so many other responsibilities, right? They might have a family to take care of, they might have no one earning in there, they are the sole bread earners, right? So that was a big thing for me. My family supporting, my parents supporting me, my us having no financial problems that I would have to personally take care of. So it's not that I'm saying I come from a rich family, but it's just that I didn't have any financial burden. I
Okay,
was
but
able
see,
to continue doing this.
it's a
Huh.
lot to convince first yourself and then people around you.
Hmm.
Okay, because see, mentally you have to be
Correct.
prepared that there was a point that you were just done and you had to pursue it, okay, at any cost. Correct. So, is there a turning point? Is there a, let's take a mental image that you have that like, basically pushed you to take that decision?
Like I said, I've always, like, throughout my college life, I always wanted to do something on my own. Even during college, I started a bunch of things, right? Like I just wanted to try out different things. So I would get together with my friends. We would do like small businesses, small things, right? Like college day businesses, hosting parties, selling things here and there in college, right? So वो entrepreneurial कीड़ा था हमेशा, but then it wasn't directed properly in the beginning, and I felt like that mindset was always there कि कुछ करना है खुद,
Correct.
right? But then one thing that one phrase that I've always lived by is everything happens for a reason, which is what has gotten me till here, right? Because like I do whatever is in my power, right? But at the end of it, there are a lot of things that I can't control. What I can do is make the best out of the situation, right? And do what I can, right? So um just trying to do the best I can, and having that mindset key, okay, everything happens for a reason, let me see what is the best I can do out of this particular situation, is I feel like what has gotten me here.
So, okay, I respect that particular whole journey because somewhere I feel I've had the same similar journey where I had to take decisions promptly without even thinking that नहीं ये तो करना ही है चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, okay, and having that mindset in self कि I have to do it no matter what happens. So it's basically not about being consistent; it's about being persistent on that, right? So that is one thing I have, again, same actually the same thought process I go through. But let's say Rohit, you've had a good journey of 3 to 4 years almost now, and it's difficult to be where at you are currently, or just have that state of doing it continuously every day as well. Correct. So have you had phases where you had like just given up, or you had just let's take totally stressed out, you were totally burnt out, you didn't want to do anything? So have you had those phases?
Definitely, it keeps coming and going. Even right now, I'm experiencing that phase where I'm like, यार नहीं करना मेरे को थोड़ा सा I need a break, right? But then it's just that कि at this point of my life, I feel like I just have so many more responsibilities that I cannot let that mindset sink me and sort of make me not do things, right? Because at this point the company is not just me. The company is like I have 7 other employees. I have a partner with me. I have clients that I need to take care of, right? So I just have external responsibilities to take care of, which sort of keeps pushing me to make sure that I'm not giving up, right? But then earlier, yes, I used to have those moments where I was like, okay, like even after starting Barely Opinionated within 1 year, uh, I had that very tipping moment where I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to stop this. I think it's time for me to get a job and do something better with my life because I am not in a position to be able to continue this. And as I was going through that phase, and that was a nightmare phase, right? Like I was emotionally very vulnerable. I would break down very often, and during that phase is when, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and right, and that phase sort of put really cemented that thought in my mind because a chain of events happened during that time, which made me believe that okay, there is a path forward, there is something that I can do with this, and that is what took me. And this has happened so many times in the last 3 years that now I don't get too worried about something going wrong because I'll be like, okay, abhi kuch galat gaya, let me try and make the best out of the situation. Kuch na kuch hoga which will get us out of this. But again, I'm not saying that I completely give up and I just rely on the universe to get me somewhere. It's just that I try to do my best to do what is
हाँ,
right for me.
it's honest, like 100% अपना तो देना ही है चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, ठीक है. It's more
Hmm.
around what we have done from our part should be max, and then let the universe unfold itself to its beings. But let's say वो जो पूरा burnout phase आता है, that whole giving up phase आता है, what things led you to overcome it? Like, let's say for me, there are things like connecting to myself, having faith, having hope. Um, Many times I meditate, things like that, right? So, what are the things that you did that in those situations? Let's say currently, if this podcast doesn't go well, okay, in terms of video quality, audio quality, or anything, just like fucks up, then I would have, let's take, an anxiousness, a nervousness, that how do I fix it? Correct. So let's say if you had those phases, that those ups and downs, how did you come from the down, or what things that you did to convert from that down to let's take your whole positive spiral?
In the beginning, it was like the earlier when I used to feel those moments, I would be very anxious. Like I would just try to I don't know. There was no particular thing I did to deal with it. It was just that I was going through it and I let myself go through it as much as possible. And I dealt with it in wrong ways. I would try to do things that would give me more dopamine. Small things that I would do that would give me dopamine.
Like,
Um, I like to eat a lot, right? And I would stress eat a lot. I still stress eat a lot, which is why I'm like this. So that was one thing. I would go out drinking, which would just take me. So I would just do things that would take me off that mindset that I was in, right? But after going through it so many times, I just realized that okay, I'm feeling like this right now, but it's probably going to go away in about 24 hours to 48 hours, or it's going to go away once something happens, right? For example, if I were to be shooting a podcast, right, I would be feeling very nervous that, oh my God, this guest is coming. How do I handle it? I hope recording doesn't stop. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope the guest feels good. Whatever, right? But and that would make me very anxious. So earlier it was more like, fuck, I just don't want to do this, right? But now it's like, okay, this is going to happen. It's this podcast is going to happen, say between 2 to 4 p.m. After 4 p.m., everything is going to be sorted. So I just need to keep myself calm and relaxed until 4 p.m. After 4 p.m., I'm good, right? So that's the mindset that I am at right now.
So you're basically earlier you used to run away from it. Now you're trying to accept and acknowledge that okay, for this particular time I will have to deal with it. Then things will be fine. Okay.
Exactly.
That's a good, because you know what, in I'll tell you something around the spiritual aspects. So many times we have been told that we as humans, the current generation possibly, we run away from our own emotions. Like we are not happy fully, we are not sad fully, we don't cry properly. Everything we do half-hearted. The problem actually comes because we don't first accept our emotions, and second we don't acknowledge them. So I somewhere have learned a way in the past, let's take a couple of years, how to accept that okay, chalo, this is a problem, इसको deal तो करना ही है. You acknowledge that it exists. Now you have taken a, let's take a decision to overcome it as well. Correct. So I guess that is definitely good, and something that holds up, and something everyone should start learning with time. But let's take in this whole phase of yours. Can you tell a crucial moment where your mindset was a important factor of taking a decision in life? Any particular situation where your mindset was a crucial decision? Like let's take, there was a time when I had to choose between, let's take, doing a part-time gig or working with a, or consulting a bigger company. Okay, and I had to mentally think that if I want to become a corporate employee, or like let's say go into that grunt work phase, or I had to take the decision where let's say I had to work for a few hours but put my effort over there. So there were two different mind shifts over there. Okay, so has there been a point, a crucial point in your life where your mindset had to play a very important role in choosing parts of your life?
I feel like that kind of those kind of decisions keep coming a lot. Again, like I said, right? Like 1 year into building Barely Opinionated, there was a point where I had completely given up. Right? I was just thinking ki, the way forward is only more hard work, more grunt work, which is not going to give me outcome until like some time. Right? That is where I had to make the decision ki, okay, should I continue doing this at this point, or should I stop and go join a startup or another corporate company, which will give me stability, which will give me mental peace, which will give me money, right? Or should I continue doing something which is going to take away my good sleep? It's going to induce anxiety continuously. It's not going to give me any money right now, right? And I just still chose to go ahead with it during that phase because I didn't want to give up at that point, and I felt like there's something good happening at that
One
point, right? That is
like
what
mera
sort of
chain when sab ujda, and the other part was I have to take this hole hole.
exactly.
Okay, okay. If someone has to reach where you have reached, let's say in the last 3 years, okay, what is the flow that person should follow, and what is the one advice you would give to that person?
I would say consistency has been my biggest strength in terms of me creating content, but that consistency has also taken away my mental peace. But I feel like my work, some people would say it's good quality work, some people would criticize the quality of the work, but no one can criticize the consistency with which we have done our work, which is what I'm the most proud of. So if someone wants to come where I am, first of all, it's not that difficult, right? I just took a longer route and a longer time because I just didn't know a lot of things. It took me a lot more time to learn things, which I feel like there are like the newer generation or the people or the students that are graduating who are younger than me are learning it faster than I am. right? So I feel like they have an advantage, right? So where what I'm doing and where I am right now is not difficult, if you just know the path to doing it, but it's just about consistency.
Okay, okay. And let's say if someone has to start from scratch like you did and start a whole new genre, like let's take a vertical of something of his own or her own, okay. And how would that person go about it? Is there a proper roadmap and SOP or something like that?
No, I would say don't go about it. It's not good. I would advise them completely against doing what I did, because relying on a social media page for your life is not a good idea. What you can do is that if you really want to do something that I'm doing, do it with another brand who wants to do it, because brands just want to create content and grow pages now. So if you feel like you're someone who can grow pages, who wants to create content and grow organic audience, then go to a brand and talk to them and do it, because everyone is looking for a content creator. But don't start on your own and try to do what I'm doing, because it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of work, a lot of grunt work, which I didn't realize would be like this until I actually started, and the days went by. So yeah, if anyone wants to do what I'm doing, please do it with the brand. Don't do it on your
But okay, so let's say your advice is not to do it personally, like
own. Not to do it.
your way, correct? But your advice is to do
Exactly.
it with someone who's already doing it.
Exactly. Don't
Okay,
try to do it on your own, because you're not.
take because
It's a
uh,
much more difficult path.
but why do you say it's difficult?
Because see, you first of all are uh, everything is not in your control on social media. It's a lot to do with the way algorithm works. It's a lot to do with the way what platform wants. It's a lot to do with your understanding of content creation, which itself is a very difficult thing to do, right? There are people that I've seen who have blown up in 6 months, but there are people that I've seen who have been doing the same thing for 6 years and have not been successful, right? There are people that I've seen who shoot on a phone,
Okay.
edit on their phone, and get millions of views. But there are people that I've seen who have spent lakhs on their setup and getting good equipment and getting good editor and doing very good quality content, but getting like 100, 200, 300, 500,000 views, right? So it's very, very subjective, right? So if you really want to do this, what I would say is you need a good support system for that, right? And don't do it at your own time or money. Do it at someone else's time or money.
Okay, let's do a quick rapid fire, and I have one small question for you, and then we'll try to cover up this whole thing. So the rapid fire goes in this way: what is the one book that you suggest everyone to read? What is the one book that
Uh,
you suggest everyone?
Lakshya, you will be surprised, but I don't read books. So I
Okay,
wouldn't be the right person to recommend any books.
okay. Let's go with this. What is that one podcast you suggest everyone to watch?
Okay, so I love Lex Friedman a lot because of the way he sort of brings out different conversations. So that is one. But I also listen to a lot of fun podcasts as well, because my work is so serious, and I need to always be on top of
Correct.
research and reading and reporting on things that I like during the times that I'm listening to podcasts. I like to listen to a lot of fun podcasts. So there's one podcast by Logan Paul called Impulsive, which I love a lot. These two are my recommendations.
What would be that one thing that you would want to do if you had a chance to leave everything that you currently are doing and just go and do that for, let's take, another 3 to 5 years or forever?
I honestly, if I didn't have any financial constraints in terms of what I needed to do, I would continue to do the same thing, because I love doing what I'm doing. And when I don't have financial constraint, I can do it a lot better and a lot faster than how I'm doing.
The current scenario.
Current scenario, but with a lot more money.
Okay. Um, what would be that one destination that you would want to go and start creating content from there as a travel host, if you had the chance to?
I would probably tap into somewhere like uh, I would say Africa is a good place to be at in terms of content creation, because I feel like that market is huge and that market is
Okay.
nascent, and there's not a lot happening in terms of content creation there. Um, so that continent as a whole, I would say, would be a good place. Yeah, Middle East would also be a good idea because they're spending a lot of money.
No, definitely that is there. But I guess Middle East more is all about real estate as of now, because most of the real estate content comes from there. Okay. But coming
Correct.
to our last question, what is that one dream that you think that when you achieve it, you'll feel that you are there?
No, I don't. I have no such dream, dude. I've just realized that every time I achieve something, there is not satisfactory. So I don't have a particular, like I have a bunch of different bucket list items that I want to be able to achieve, but there's no particular dream after which I can be like, oh, I'm good now. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied.
Okay, okay, no problem. Last, okay, so there's this one last thing. This is a fill in the blanks question. Okay, so I'll say the first three words of the whole sentence, and you have to complete the sentence. Then, okay, okay. So if you were to motivate someone, okay,
Hmm.
by saying have a luck to do this, okay,
Hmm.
then what would you that be? So have a luck, fill in the blanks.
Have a have a luck to have a good life. Um, yeah, have a luck to have a peaceful life is what I would say.
Okay, okay, no worries. That is something very let's take touching. Someone who's um, wanting to do something great in life. But with that, we are almost at the end of this podcast, Rohit, and I have had a different.
I just want to say something, Lakshya. I just want to say that everyone doesn't need to do great things. People can just like let people should be okay with just like living comfortable life, making good enough money just to sustain their lifestyle, and live life without having to talk about it or letting people know about it or having that hustle mentality. It's okay. Just live peacefully. No one. It's very painful to to always try and do something big. It's just too painful.
Okay, so I'll keep it simple. Have a luck to not try something new and be uh,
Nice.
okay. Works best. So Rohit, I hope you had a good time. Okay, doing this podcast. Okay, is there something you would want to say by like let's say the last few words for ending the podcast?
I think I already said my last words. You don't have to do something great or something big to have a good life, because doing that doesn't achieve a lot for you. So just have a peaceful life, get a nice job, do what you like to do, but don't force yourself to hustle. That's all.
Okay, no worries. That's super, Rohit. Thanks for coming in such short notice, because it's almost like a week or so where we spoke about that we'll be doing this, and I love the way your let's take journey has turned out to be. There are lots of let's take learnings I've had from your journey, and I definitely like suggest people to go through your content, because somewhere it gives me. I feel you have had that click where you wanted that awareness amongst people. I guess when I want to know something political or current affairs or things like that, I definitely go to your page. Okay, so I feel you have achieved that hallmark, and thanks for like bringing it to that stage where Barely Opinionated can be recognized as such a brand, right? So that's my side of things. I hope you had a good time, and let's do this once again, but in person in Bangalore. Okay, I'll be jumping there soon, but let's see how it goes about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lakshya, for having me. This was a great conversation, and I hope I was helpful for people. And I didn't demotivate anyone too much.
Definitely, why not? You were.